When I saw my husband standing in his mother's doorway, alive and breathing, I thought I was losing my mind. For 5 years, I'd mourned him. For 5 years, I'd sent $200 every month to his mother, believing I was honoring his memory by taking care of the woman who raised him. For 5 years, I'd worn black to family gatherings, kept his photo on my nightstand, and told our daughter stories about the father she'd never really known. But there he was, Michael, my husband, the man I'd buried, the man whose funeral I'd planned, the man whose grave I visited every year on his birthday. He was wearing jeans and a flannel shirt. His hair was longer than I remembered. He had a beard now. But it was him. I knew his face. I knew the way he stood. I knew the scar above his left eyebrow from when he fell off his bike as a kid. He was alive. And his mother, sweet, grieving Linda, the woman I'd been supporting all these years, saw me standing there on her porch, and the look on her face wasn't surprise. It was guilt. She'd known. The whole time. She'd known he was alive, and she'd let me believe he was dead. My name is Sarah Matthews. I'm 37 years old, and I live in a small town outside of Charlotte, North Carolina. I work as a dental hygienist. I have a daughter named Lily who's 8 years old, and until 5 years ago, I had a husband named Michael. We met when I was 22. He was 24. We met at a 4th of July barbecue at a friend's house. He was wearing a Carolina Panthers jersey and had the brightest smile I'd ever seen. He made me laugh within 5 minutes of talking. He worked as a mechanic at a local auto shop. He loved fixing things, cars, broken furniture, anything with an engine. We got married 2 years later. Small wedding at a church downtown. My parents were there. His mom, Linda, was there. She was a sweet woman, a widow. Michael's father had passed away when Michael was 10, so it had always been just the two of them. She raised him by herself, working 2 jobs to keep food on the table. Michael was close to his mom. He'd visit her every Sunday, bring her groceries, fix things around her house. I loved that about him. He was a good son. We had Lily 3 years into our marriage. Michael cried when she was born. He held her so gently, like she was made of glass. "I'm going to be the best dad," he whispered. "I promise." And he was. For the first 3 years of her life, he was an amazing father. He'd come home from work covered in grease, shower, and then spend hours playing with her, building block towers, reading stories, making her giggle. But then things changed. Michael started acting strange, distant. He'd stay late at work. He'd take phone calls outside. When I'd ask what was wrong, he'd say, "Nothing, just work stress." I believed him because I wanted to, because it was easier than facing the alternative. Then one night, he didn't come home. I called his work. They said he'd left at 5, like always. I called his friends. No one had seen him. I called Linda. She hadn't heard from him either. I waited up all night, pacing, calling, texting. Nothing. The next morning, 2 police officers came to my door. They had grim faces. They asked to come inside, and they told me something I'll never forget. "Mrs. Matthews, we found your husband's truck. It went off the road near the interstate. There was a fire. We're very sorry." They said the body was badly burned, that identification would take time, but they found his wallet, his wedding ring, his phone. It was him. It had to be him. The funeral was a week later. Closed casket. Linda sat in the front row, sobbing. I held Lily, who was too young to really understand. My parents sat beside me. Friends came, co-workers, people from the auto shop. Everyone said the same things. He was so young, such a tragedy. He's in a better place now. But I didn't feel like he was in a better place. I felt like he was gone, and I felt empty. Linda took it hard. She'd lost her husband. Now she'd lost her son. I visited her often in the months after the funeral, brought her meals, sat with her, let her cry. "I don't know how I'll survive this," she said one evening, her hands shaking around a cup of tea. "You will," I told her. "We both will. We have to, for Lily." She nodded, but she looked so frail, so broken. That's when I started sending her money, $200 a month. It wasn't much, but it was what I could afford on my salary. I wanted to help. Michael would have wanted me to take care of his mother. She called me the first time I sent it. "Sarah, you don't have to do this." "I want to," I said. "You're family, and Michael would have wanted me to help." She thanked me, said she'd use it for groceries, bills, things she needed. And so it continued. Every month, $200. Sometimes I'd add a little extra around holidays. I'd call to check in, visit her a few times a year, bring Lily to see her grandmother. Linda always seemed grateful. Sad, but grateful. We'd sit in her small living room, surrounded by photos of Michael. She'd tell stories about when he was young, how he used to fix her car when he was just a teenager, how proud she was of him. I thought we were bonding over our shared grief. I thought we were helping each other survive. I was wrong. About 6 months ago, things started to feel off. Small things at first, little inconsistencies that didn't quite add up. I called Linda one evening to check on her. She sounded distracted. I heard a man's voice in the background. "Do you have company?" I asked. "Oh, that's just the TV," she said quickly. "I was watching a show." But it didn't sound like a TV. It sounded like someone in the same room, talking, laughing. I brushed it off. Maybe she had a friend over. Maybe I was imagining things. Then, a few weeks later, I drove by her house on my way to the grocery store. I saw a truck in her driveway, a blue Ford, beat up, older model. It looked familiar, but I couldn't place it. I thought about stopping, but I was running late, so I kept driving. Another time, I called her on a Sunday afternoon. She usually answered right away, but this time it rang and rang. When she finally picked up, she was breathless. "Sorry, Sarah. I was in the backyard, gardening." It was January, in North Carolina. Nobody gardens in January. "Oh," I said. "Well, I just wanted to check in, see how you're doing." "I'm fine, dear, same as always." But her voice sounded strained, like she was hiding something. I started noticing other things, too. When I'd visit, her house seemed different. Newer furniture, a new TV, things that didn't match the "I'm barely scraping by" story she'd been telling me for years. "Did you get a new couch?" I asked one visit. "Oh, yes, a friend gave it to me. They were getting rid of it." "That was nice of them." She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. I also noticed she started avoiding me. When I'd suggest visiting, she'd have excuses. "I'm not feeling well. I have plans. Maybe next week." She still cashed my checks, every month, without fail, but she was pulling away. I mentioned it to my friend, Rachel, over coffee one afternoon. "Maybe she's just getting older. People get more private as they age." Maybe, but it feels like more than that. "Have you asked her directly?" "No, I don't want to seem accusatory. She's been through so much." Rachel shrugged. "Maybe you're overthinking it." But I wasn't. I knew something was wrong. I just didn't know what. Then, 3 weeks ago, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. "Hello? Is this Sarah Matthews?" A woman's voice, young, nervous. "Yes? Who's this?" "You don't know me, but I think we need to talk. It's about your husband, Michael." My heart stopped. "What about him?" "I can't say over the phone. Can we meet tomorrow? There's a coffee shop on Main Street, the Morning Brew." "Who are you?" "Please, just meet me. I'll explain everything." She hung up. I sat there staring at my phone, my hands shaking. What did this woman know about Michael? And why was she calling me 5 years after his death? I couldn't sleep that night. I kept thinking about the call, about Linda's strange behavior, about the truck in her driveway, about the voice I'd heard in the background. The next day, I drove to the coffee shop. I got there early, ordered a tea I didn't drink, waited. A young woman walked in, mid-20s, brown hair pulled into a ponytail, jeans and a sweater. She looked around nervously, then spotted me and walked over. Sarah? Yes? Who are you? She sat down, took a deep breath. My name is Emily, and I know your husband. Knew, you mean knew. Michael died 5 years ago. She looked at me with sad, pitying eyes. No, Sarah, he didn't. The room started spinning. What are you talking about? Michael is alive. I've been seeing him for the past 2 years. I felt like I couldn't breathe. That's impossible. I buried him. There was a funeral, a death certificate. You know what you were told, but it's not true. Michael faked his death, and his mother helped him. I stared at Emily, trying to process what she was saying. You're lying. This is some kind of sick joke. I wish it was, she said quietly, but it's not. Michael is alive. He's been living in a trailer about 30 miles outside of town, working odd jobs, cash only, no paper trail. Why would he do that? Why would he fake his death? Emily looked down. He was in trouble, money trouble. He owed people, bad people. He said if he didn't disappear, they'd come after you and your daughter. So he staged the accident, made it look like he died, and his mom helped him cover it up. Linda knew? Yes, she's been helping him this whole time, giving him money, letting him stay at her place sometimes when it was safe. My mind was reeling. The money I've been sending her every month. She's been giving it to Michael. I felt sick. For 5 years, I'd been supporting the man who'd abandoned me, who'd let me grieve him, who'd let our daughter grow up thinking her father was dead. Why are you telling me this? I asked, my voice shaking. Because I didn't know. About you, about Lily. He told me he was divorced, that he had no kids. We've been together for 2 years. I thought we had a future. But then I found his old wallet with a photo of you and a little girl. I confronted him, and he told me everything. Where is he now? At Linda's house. I followed him there this morning. I was so angry. I wanted to confront him in front of his mother. But when I got there and saw them together, laughing, acting like everything was normal, I couldn't do it. So I left, and I called you instead. I stood up. I need to see him, now. Sarah, wait. No, I've waited 5 years. I'm not waiting another second. I drove to Linda's house. My hands were gripping the steering wheel so tight my knuckles were white. My heart was pounding. Part of me still didn't believe it, couldn't believe it. But when I pulled up to the house and saw that blue Ford truck in the driveway, the same truck I'd seen months ago, I knew Emily was telling the truth. I got out of the car, walked up to the front door, knocked. Linda answered. When she saw me, her face went pale. Sarah, what are you doing here? I need to talk to you. Now's not a good time. I know he's here, Linda. Her mouth opened, closed. She looked terrified. Let me in. She stepped aside. I walked into the living room, and there he was. Michael, sitting on the couch, holding a beer, watching TV. He looked up, saw me, and froze. For a moment, nobody said anything. We just stared at each other. Sarah, he finally said. His voice, the same voice, the voice I'd heard in my dreams for 5 years. "You're alive," I whispered. He stood up slowly. "I can explain." "Explain? You let me think you were dead. You let your daughter think you were dead for 5 years. I didn't have a choice. There's always a choice." Linda stepped between us. "Sarah, please, let him explain." "You helped him," I said, turning to her. "You lied to me. You took my money every month knowing he was alive." She started crying. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I didn't know what else to do. He's my son. I couldn't lose him." "So you let me lose him instead?" Michael moved closer. "I did this to protect you. I owed $50,000 to a loan shark. He threatened to hurt you, to hurt Lily. The only way to keep you safe was to disappear. You could have come to me. We could have figured it out together." "No, we couldn't. These people don't negotiate. They don't forgive debt. The only way out was to make them think I was dead." "And what about us? What about your family? I thought you'd be better off without me." "Better off? Michael, I grieved you. I cried myself to sleep for months. Lily asks about you all the time. She thinks her daddy is in heaven. And you've been here the whole time, living 30 miles away?" He looked down. "I know I hurt you. I know I messed up. But I thought I was doing the right thing." "The right thing would have been to face your problems, not run away from them, not let your wife and daughter think you were dead." "I couldn't." "Yes, you could, but you didn't, because you're a coward." The word hung in the air. Michael flinched like I'd slapped him. Linda was sobbing now. "Sarah, please, try to understand. He was desperate. We both were." "Desperate? You've been taking my money for 5 years, money I sent to help you, and you gave it all to him." "I didn't know what else to do." "You could have told me the truth." I turned back to Michael. "Does Lily know? Does anyone else know?" "No, just Mom, and now Emily, and you." "Emily, the woman you've been lying to for 2 years, just like you lied to me." He didn't respond. I took a deep breath, tried to calm down. "I need to know something. Did you ever love me, or was that a lie too?" "Of course I loved you. I still do." "No, you don't. Because if you loved me, you never would have done this. You never would have put me through this hell." I turned and walked toward the door. "Sarah, wait!" I didn't. I walked out, got in my car, and drove away. I didn't cry, not then. I was too angry, too shocked, too numb. But later that night, after I put Lily to bed, after I sat alone in the dark living room staring at Michael's photo on the wall, I finally broke down. The next few days were a blur. I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep, couldn't focus at work. I kept replaying the moment I saw Michael in that living room, alive, real, after 5 years of believing he was gone. I didn't tell anyone at first, not my parents, not my friends. I needed time to process, to figure out what to do. But I did call a lawyer. I needed to know my options, legally, financially, emotionally. "This is highly unusual," my lawyer, Mr. Peterson, said when I explained the situation. "If he faked his death, there could be serious legal consequences, insurance fraud at minimum, possibly more." "I don't care about punishing him," I said. "I just want to protect my daughter, and I want answers." "Then I suggest you meet him again, with me present. We need documentation. We need to know exactly what happened, and we need to make sure he doesn't disappear again." 3 days after I discovered Michael was alive, I agreed to meet him at Mr. Peterson's office. Neutral ground. Linda wasn't invited. This was between me and Michael. He showed up wearing the same flannel shirt. He looked tired, older. Guilt was written all over his face. We sat across from each other at a conference table. Mr. Peterson sat beside me, taking notes. "Tell me everything," I said, "from the beginning, and don't lie. Not anymore." Michael took a deep breath. 5 years ago, I borrowed money from a guy named Tony Millard. He runs unofficial loans, high interest. I needed it for the shop. Business was slow. I thought I could pay him back in a few months. Why didn't you tell me? Because I was ashamed. I'd already failed at so many things. I didn't want you to think I was failing at this too. So instead, you lied. Yes, and the debt grew fast. Before I knew it, I owed $50,000. Tony started threatening me, said if I didn't pay, he'd come after you, after Lily. So you faked your death. I staged an accident, burned the truck, put someone else's body in it. My stomach turned. Whose body? A homeless man. He died of an overdose. I found him behind a bar. I know it sounds terrible, but I was desperate. Mr. Peterson stopped writing and looked up, disgusted, but he didn't interrupt. "How did you pull it off?" I asked. "I had help, a guy I knew from the shop. He helped me set up the accident, made it look real. And Mom lied to the police, said she'd talked to me that night, that I was upset, made it seem like I might have been careless driving." "And the death certificate?" "The body was so badly burned they couldn't get DNA fast enough. They went off dental records, but I switched them, paid someone at the morgue to use records from a John Doe instead of mine." I felt sick. "You thought of everything." "I thought I was protecting you." "No, you were protecting yourself. If you really wanted to protect us, you would have gone to the police. You would have faced Tony legally. There are witness protection programs. There are ways to handle this." "I didn't think I had time. Tony said he'd come after you within the week." "So where is he now, this Tony?" "Prison. He got arrested about 2 years ago. Drug charges. He's serving 15 years. So the threat is gone." "Yes." "Which means you could have come back 2 years ago. You could have told me the truth." He looked down. "I thought about it every day, but by then I didn't know how. I didn't know how to come back from the dead, how to face you. So you stayed hidden, and you started a relationship with Emily instead." "I was lonely. I didn't think you'd ever find out." "But I did. And now what? What happens now, Michael?" He looked at me, tears in his eyes. "I don't know. I want to fix this. I want to be part of Lily's life again. I want—" "You don't get to want anything," I said, my voice steady and cold. "You gave up that right when you let me bury an empty casket, when you let your daughter grow up without a father." "Sarah, please." "No, you need to hear this. You destroyed our family. You destroyed me. For 5 years, I lived in grief. I wore black. I cried myself to sleep. I told Lily stories about her brave daddy who was watching over her from heaven, and it was all a lie." He was crying now, openly. "I'm sorry. I'm so, so sorry." "I know you are, but sorry doesn't fix this." Mr. Peterson cleared his throat. "Mrs. Matthews, what would you like to happen moving forward?" I thought about it, about Lily, about what she deserved, about what I deserved. "I want a divorce," I said. "Legally, he's still my husband, but I want that ended immediately." "Understood. And I want him to turn himself in to the police for what he did, the fraud, the body, all of it." Michael's face went pale. "Sarah, you said you wanted to fix this. This is how. You face the consequences. You tell the truth. You stop running." I'll go to prison. Maybe, probably, but that's not my problem. You made your choices, now you live with them. He looked broken, shattered, but he nodded. Okay, I'll turn myself in. And Lily, I continued, I don't know if I'll ever tell you you're alive. That's something I need to decide. But if I do, it'll be on my terms, when she's ready, not before. Can I see her? Just once? No, you lost that right. He looked like I'd stabbed him, but he didn't argue. The meeting ended. Michael left with Mr. Peterson to go to the police station, and I went home. That night, I sat Lily down. I didn't tell her about Michael. She was too young. It would be too confusing, too painful. But I did tell her something. Lily, I need you to know something. No matter what happens, I will always protect you. I will always tell you the truth, and I will always, always love you. She hugged me. I love you too, Mommy. And in that moment, I knew I'd survived this. We'd survived this. And we'd be okay. It's been 6 months now since I discovered Michael was alive. 6 months since my entire world turned upside down, and I had to put it back together piece by piece. Michael did turn himself in. He was arrested and charged with insurance fraud, falsifying a death certificate, and improper handling of human remains. He pleaded guilty to everything. The judge sentenced him to 3 years in prison with the possibility of parole after 18 months. Linda was questioned but not charged. The police determined she'd been manipulated by her son, acting out of maternal instinct rather than criminal intent. But I haven't spoken to her since that day. I can't. The betrayal runs too deep. I stopped sending the monthly checks, of course, and I've started therapy to process everything. The grief, the anger, the betrayal, the strange grief of mourning someone who's alive but dead to me. Emily reached out once, a few weeks after everything came out. She apologized for her part in it, though she'd been lied to just like I had. She's moved on, started fresh somewhere else. I wished her well. She deserved better than Michael's lies, too. As for Lily, I still haven't told her. She's only 8. I've talked to child psychologists, therapists, my parents. Everyone agrees she's too young to process this right now. Someday, when she's older, when she can understand the complexity of what happened, I'll tell her the truth. But for now, she still believes her daddy is in heaven. And maybe, in a way, the daddy she knew really is gone. The hardest part wasn't the anger, it was the grief all over again. I had to grieve Michael twice. Once when I thought he died, and again when I learned the man I married never really existed. He was always someone who could lie, who could run, who could choose himself over his family. But I've also learned something important. I'm stronger than I ever knew. I survived losing my husband. I survived raising my daughter alone. I survived 5 years of grief. And when I discovered the truth, I survived that too. I don't send money to anyone anymore. Instead, I put that $200 a month into a college fund for Lily, money that will actually help her future instead of enabling someone else's lies. I've also started dating again. Nothing serious, just coffee dates with kind men who show up when they say they will, who don't have secret lives, who understand that trust, once broken, is the hardest thing in the world to rebuild. My parents have been incredible. They were furious when they found out about Michael. My dad actually wanted to drive to the prison and confront him, but I asked him not to. Michael isn't worth the energy. He's not worth the anger. He's just gone, and that's how it needs to be. I think about those 5 years a lot. The money I sent, the grief I carried, the life I put on hold. And sometimes I feel foolish, like I should have known, should have seen the signs earlier. But then I remind myself I did what I thought was right. I honored what I believed was my husband's memory. I took care of his mother because I thought that's what a good person does. I wasn't foolish, I was kind, and there's no shame in that. The shame belongs to Michael and Linda. They're the ones who lied, who manipulated, who took advantage of my grief and my goodness. But I'm done carrying their shame. I'm done letting their choices define my story. If you're listening to this and you've been betrayed by someone you trusted, I want you to know something. It's not your fault. You're not foolish for believing people you love. You're not weak for being kind. You're not wrong for trying to do the right thing. The people who lie, who manipulate, who fake their own deaths and let their families suffer, they're the ones who are broken, not you. I loved Michael. I trusted him. I grieved him. And when I found out he was alive, I had to grieve him all over again. But this time, I was grieving the loss of who I thought he was, the man I married, the father of my child, the person I thought I knew. That man is gone. Maybe he never existed, and I've made my peace with that. I'm Sarah Matthews. I'm 38 years old. I'm a single mother, a dental hygienist, a survivor. I sent money to my dead husband's mother for 5 years, and when I discovered the truth, when I saw him alive at her door, I had to make the hardest choice of my life. I chose myself. I chose my daughter. I chose truth over lies, and I chose to move forward instead of staying trapped in someone else's deception. Michael is alive, but the man I loved is gone, and I'm finally free.